What's going on YouTube? It's PJ's Chess here, back in another video. So today I have round 2 of the Cleveland Open, the first speedweight tournament. I got a draw here. The next few games are a draw, but they're all very entertaining. You see by the accuracy, 95% for my opponent, 90.8 for me. How would I draw? We'll get to that later in the video. Before I get into it, please subscribe, like, share. We hit 250 subscribers. Next goal, 300. We can hit that. We've been growing a lot lately, so thank you for all the support. But let's get straight into this video. Let's show the accuracy is 95 as I mentioned, but I mean the rating. 2,500 expected for my opponent, Grandmaster level, and 2,450 for me. We both played very well in a very technical game. Let's get straight to it. They go pawn to e4, pawn to e5, knight f3, knight f6, and knight captures. Now here, I felt very relieved, honestly, at the start of the game already. Usually knight c3 is somewhat of an issue, although I've been going over it lately what to do knight c3, so I guess it's not as much as it used to be. But at least over the board, I haven't been responding to it as much. When they go for the classical Petrov variation, I'm like, all right, cool. We're doing okay. I know how to play against this. I play the book move d6. They go back to f3. I take in the center, and they go knight here to c3. Now, I actually know you're supposed to take the knight. This is all theory so far. I played this before. I played this game before in tournaments. In the tournament previously, I lost because I didn't take the knight. So, because of that, I remember it. That's why you play games over the board. That how much you're investing in it, it'll stick with you forever. I'll never forget the event. It was in 2024, and I lost this game that I just did not need to because I did not know to take the knight, and I went back to f6. So here I do take it, as I know the theory this time. They take with the pawn, the book move. I go bishop e7, bishop here to d3, and knight to d7. Now I should have castled. My hesitancy with castling is the fact that I just don't want to. I don't want to go over to this attack, and they have h4, and then say I would never do this. But just for an example of how quick their pawns look, and obviously right now this just drops. But you get the idea. I didn't like the idea of sitting there for over 2 hours defending, so I wanted to wait to see what they did first, and I go knight here to d7. This is the second best move. The reason this move works, you can envelop to this square, to this square, to this square, and I did spend a lot of time on this. Some backstory on this game. We both spent about like an hour, like not an hour, I guess over half our time, the hour, on the first 14 or 15 moves. And another interesting thing about this team, my opponent tried to report me to the tournament director because they thought I was, not cheating. They thought I wasn't following the rules correctly. What happened, if you haven't played a FIDE tournament before, when it's a 10-second delay, when it's 30-second delay, you have to notate the whole time. When a 10-second delay like we had, you actually don't. And I asked the TD before we got to this point because I never played FIDE before. And you'll see if you don't have to notate. I asked, always make sure I know the rules of the tournament. Make sure you know the rules of the tournament if you play in one. And my opponent was very upset that that was the actual ruling because the TD agreed with me that I did not have to notate under 5 minutes, and that's well in the video a little bit, but I thought that was interesting. I'm sure I'll put that in the title. I want to explain that a little bit there. But they go pawn here to h4. I go knight here to f6, which is the third best move, which is not an amazing move to be honest with you, but it is an okay move. The reason I went knight here to f6 is I wanted to just get my knight square bishop active on this diagonal again. Although I will say, I'm speeding up a little bit. I will say that bishop g4 probably makes. Wait, did I do that? No. Castle here makes more sense. Okay. Bishop g4, later in the game, it ends up being an inaccuracy, as you'll see. So it makes sense, but it really doesn't. Like, it made sense to me. Nothing to the computer, honestly. But it's saying castle. I'm not mad I didn't play this. Because castling on this side, you're slightly better as black. But I just don't love the position. Their pawn's getting up. They can just get. This looks very bad. As you could imagine, like, with the evaluation bar, this is fine. This is plus 0.5 for black. They're slightly better. But over the board in the tournament, you want to do the best you can do. You're not going to go for something that you're not too confident in. So I go knight here to f6, the basic move. Trying to get bishop to g4, although again, as I mentioned, this plan is flawed. But that was the plan, to get bishop to g4, and we'll get to that in a second. I go bishop d3, as I mentioned. I go bishop g4. I wanted to get my light square bishop active. I thought here on c8, it was not doing anything. I thought going bishop d6 did nothing. The book move is here to castle. You're supposed to actually go on the opposite side castling in this game. But I decided not to. They go queen here to d2, the best move. And I, after a long think, take the knight. Now, this is an accuracy. This is a pretty big inaccuracy. But I'm not really mad I played this. Like, I know it's not the best move. I like that I was being aggressive. That is something that I struggle with sometimes, trying to figure my spots. In this tournament, I have a lot of aggressive moments. 4 straight draws, so I don't always capitalize them, or I didn't capitalize on any of them, really. But I didn't lose, so I'll take that I went for this attack here. I thought giving them isolated pawns. I saw rook over, but I thought that I could defend it. I put trust in myself. Was I right? I mean, I did draw it, but it was more because of the time pressure versus the position. But that is part of the game. They take the bishop back with the pawn. I go pawn here to c6. I thought this was the best move, although queen d7 is better. To be frank, I would have never played queen to d7. I'm assuming it's because they could go bishop here, but this is not even the best move. I'm guessing that's the problem, though. That's the mistake because of queen a5. So I don't know why qd7 is better, but I go c6. My queen can go to qa5, which I saw, and I go there eventually. I can also look to anchor with d5, and I just thought it made more sense, honestly, than queen d7. But they queenside castle, qa5 is mentioned. The point of this, and I did this in one of my other videos that I posted, playing a master, except I was white in that game. There are moves that you want to make that come with initiative or tempo. I want to be able to queenside castle to mimic them, right? But if I move slowly, they can maybe try and stop me. I go qa5, so I attack this pawn. They have to respond, and then I can castle right after, if that makes sense. So they see I attack the pawn. They move their king over to protect the piece I attacked. Now I can queenside castle, get my king to safety. That's why I end up doing that. They move a rook here from d1 to g1. They're attacking my weakness on g7, and this was what I expected. When I took the bishop there, obviously in some variation, I saw one of the rooks coming here to attack the g7 pawn. I was ready for this. I go pawn here to g6. This is the first move I make in trying to guard my king side, and you'll see I don't end up being successful or having a successful outcome. But that's because I missed a brilliant idea. But I go g6. They go bishop here to g5 again. Stuff I expected. Knight goes here to d5. They go pawn here to h5. I was not expecting h5. I thought that this was going to be the move, honestly, but I didn't consider bishop there either. And I think I didn't consider bishop there is because every time that I thought about it, previously I had d5. So in this move, like, oh, they can't go there because I have d5. My knight's on d5. So the computer had bishop to c4. Both of us missed that idea, and they decided to go h5. Like, when h5, I kind of, like, I had a little cheer in my head, like, oh, this is a way for me to come back. I didn't think it was a very good move in the game, and it wasn't an accuracy, but it's not losing. Like, it's still zeros. I take the bishop immediately. Like, in the game, I don't know if you guys have played over the board. There's some times where you take a lot of time to think. A lot of time. This was not one of them. Now, obviously, you may be worrying about if they take pawn here. I had something for that, so I wasn't as worried for it. QX G5, king over to B1, B8, which is not a great move. The reason you go king B8 is what I miscalculated here. Actually, as I'm going over, I think I missed it again. The problem is if queen back, I believe it was. Because I wanted to push pawn here, but it's a mistake, yeah, because of queen back here. And now, if you push up again, the queen can slide in. And if you don't push up, if you go over, there was another problem. Do I remember it? There's another problem with this. Oh, yeah, I think they should just lose the pawn there, right? They could just take, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I knew there was something wrong with this. So in the game, I missed queen back, which I go king to b8. So when I first took the bishop, when I did the speed move, I said, oh, bishop captures g5, qx g5, f6, f5. And then I took some time to calculate after I took, like, oh, I can't do that. And I go king here to b8. Now, the computer says qb6. I'm guessing because of the double attack here on this pawn and on the pawn there. I need to put this in the analysis board. And qd2 is the best move. And this goes into a very equal endgame. I missed this. They missed this. And I think I might be able to win this with their pawn structure. But both of us missed the idea of queen there to b6. They do hxg6, hxg6. If you take with the other pawn, I'm pretty sure you're losing. I was somewhat sure. Okay, you're not losing. I thought I was losing because they could double up and put pressure on the h file. I thought you need to be able to have this semi-open file, or this open file controlled by your rook as well, and not give them a semi-open file to put pressure on. That was my thought process, but apparently that was wrong. They take the rook, I take pawn here to c4, pawn to f6. Now, would you believe the best move here is rook to h5? Now, let's see if we can figure out why it's rook h5. I'll play the move here, and if you can tell me why this move is brilliant, good for you. I wish I could give you like a prize or something, but I can't. But rook h5 is a brilliant idea. It's best. It doesn't have the brilliant move. When I first went over it, it gave it the brilliancy. Oh, I think it's the next move. I saw rook h5. I saw queen back. What I missed here, what I think is the actual brilliancy, is rook e5, I believe. Yeah, rook e5, double exclamation mark. If they take the knight, rook goes down and you win the game. And I did not see this over the board. I saw rook h5, queen g3, but that's as deep as my calculation went. I didn't even consider the idea of sacrificing the knight. Like, after I saw this, I said, oh, no good. So that's something I had to improve on. Make sure I look at every continuation, even if something's hanging. Because rook over, I believe the best move was to go either b3 or a3. Oh, it was a3. It was a3. And what they do, by that, if you move the rook back, it doesn't work. So you just go knight e7 or knight to f6. And either way, you still have all the material. They actually have two weaknesses, so if anyone's winning, it would probably be black here, but I guess it says white slightly better. But I think for non-GMs, probably, but even for GMs, I think you'd rather play black's position. They have an active, these files here, but after a6, the king can get there. There's no dark square at bishop, so I missed that brilliancy, unfortunately, but it happens. And I go f6, which is a mistake, and I'm a lot worse here. As you can see, 1.17 in white's favor, but I haven't even played that bad. Like, I've made, I think, one mistake. I think this is literally the only mistake I've made so far in this game. If we go back, yeah. I messed up one time, and they punish it immediately. It's some inaccuracies from both of us. But no mistake until this move here, f6, because I missed the genius idea of sacrificing my knight and sliding over. And I guess I had enough time to see it. I just didn't see it. It didn't cross my mind whatsoever. But they go queen back here to g3, attacking the d6 pawn. Now, you can't save it. So what I try and do is get as best of counterattack as I can, and I go knight b4. The reason I go knight b4 is I want to, threaten this, threaten taking that bishop, cause them some issues. They take the free pawn, king a8, you have to go a8. If you go c8, I'm sure that's losing. If you go, I didn't even fully calculate it out. My instinct was, well, if you go here, they could just continue to check you. Like, this is just game over. That's not even the best move. The best move here, is bishop x g6. Okay. But the point remains, you just cannot go towards the center in this. You have to go king a8 like I did. They go a3. So what's the difference now? Oh, maybe they can't slide back and check, I'm guessing. So if I take over check here, and you take the rook. But say, maybe I'm missing that. Why is that different? Because here, if you take over check. Oh, because it's checkmate. Yeah, because if you go here, you take, this is just mate. Chess is very interesting. How that one square makes a difference and why that worked and didn't work. But as mentioned, I go king a8, they go pawn a3, and I take the bishop. Now, you may wonder why you trade when you're down. Usually, you're not supposed to. The problem with this is if you go knight here, this is the only legal move. This is just horrible. Like, this makes no sense whatsoever to have your knight on a6. It can't go anywhere useful. They can just go b4. So you have to trade it. As much as you don't want to down material, you have to get rid of it. And I go pawn here to g5. And I thought I had a decent defense. They go queen 4 here to d4. Queen starts over to f5. I was like, well, I'm down a pawn. But what I did when I did bishop x f3 so long ago is they have double pawns. So if I can just stay in front of them and blockade it, it's only one pawn. They can't connect if they're on the same file right behind each other. So that was my thought process here. I was like, okay, I can draw this, I can draw this, I can draw this, I got this. They go rook here to d1, I go pawn to a6, a very important move. Say you don't go here, say this, I can't even find a move that makes remote sense outside of that. Let's say you got greedy and you took that pawn. They're just made in two. Like, no other move really even makes sense, but that is the best idea I can come up with. Your king can't go anywhere, right? So that's why you go pawn, to a6. I don't know why I clicked on that move. But pawn here to a6, the best move. Queen slides over, and I spend probably the longest time that I have remaining, because I was up towards the end of the game a slight amount of time. As you could imagine, their attack was very complex. They had to calculate all the way through that they'd be up a pawn, but it's double. And they may have thought of how they could use this double pawn. And you may be wondering, why would I undouble their pawn to taking the queen? It is the best move. The reason that I came up with is every other move is sort of bad. It's the only way I can describe it. I don't have the full, this was last week. I don't remember my exact thought process, but I do remember that thought. I think because of queen c8, you're just too passive with everything. Yeah, like rook d6, their rook gets in. I think I see what I was seeing. So I hated doing this because I'm not someone who's super classically trained. Like, I've had training before, but going into a pawn down endgame, I was like, well, I don't know how many times I've done this with like a coach. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. These are principles. But I knew that theoretically this is a draw. I knew that much. So I said, I'm just going to have to trust I'll figure it out, because I knew doing anything else was losing. And this, it is a draw, but it might be losing because I don't know what it is. And I took the bet that I could figure it out, which I don't, funnily enough. I ended up drawing it more the time. I guess I can put some credit there. I did draw it eventually. I take there, rook over, and I have some mistakes in the conversion. Rook here to e5, showing my lack of tactical awareness here. Apparently, the best move, let's go back to the review. The best move was actually king to b8. I mean, I'm not mad I missed that. I've not studied this before. That seems like a very impressive move. I want to go the king b8, and what does it say they do? King c1, king c7, rook e3, g4, king d2. Like, I really did not know that this was okay. I'm not mad at that. F3, and yeah, this is the idea. But my idea, a lot simpler, was if I blockade and miscalculation though, I can just push f5, right? So they go king over, f5, I take the pawn, they move the king here, and my second mistake of the game, c5. Now I go to the endgame -2, I end up drawing this very shortly after I stopped notating. c5, rook over here to d1, rook here to f5, and this is the point where I got under 5 minutes. I think actually under 3 minutes here. I was notating for a little bit, and I was like, well, I did ask the guy, so I decided not to. He was very upset that I wasn't notating, and he just did not know the rules. And I don't feel bad about that, because I asked the guy, you're supposed to know the rules. If you ever watch this video, there's no hard feelings or anything, you know. You're competitive in the moment. You gotta know the rules. I knew the rules here. I didn't know the rules, so I asked about the rules, and I made sure to use that to my advantage. Although, I think I probably still could have drawn it. There were just some mistakes he had in the conversion. The idea that really what happened is these pawns disappeared, and then these pawns disappeared here. And they had a 2-on-1, but I used my rook to cut off their king, and my king was still over here. The issue is they shouldn't have let this pawn get traded off. Once it's on one side of the board, I'd say it's almost impossible to win. I could even draw that without the training as I did. But if they were able to keep this pawn and somehow get rid of this for like these two, like they got rid of these two pawns, my black pawns, for like this pawn of theirs and this pawn of theirs, you know, something like that, where they still had it in balance, I probably would have lost. But when they're on the same side of the board, I'm able to stop that. But that was round 2. This was a 1960 rated player, or 50, I believe. So it was a nice little draw there. Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you could enjoy the analysis here of this game. If you did enjoy, please subscribe, like, comment, share. All that's very helpful. And have a good rest of the day.